Hey guys, it's Paul, and today on the show, I'm going to explain how to volunteer. So, since it's the Christmas holidays, one of the things that was on my mind, and actually on the minds of a lot of my friends, was the idea of volunteering, of giving back. So, yeah, it's a really great time to give back. A lot of times during the holidays, that's where you kind of get that itch. You want to give back because we're giving gifts, we're buying gifts, we're usually spending tons of money, but we want to go to a good cause. We just want to give back. So throughout the years, I've kind of had the privilege and the blessing to be able to give back to organizations, to be able to give back to soup kitchens and homeless shelters and what have you. If you think of a kind of volunteer opportunity, I've probably done it. So what I want to do today is I want to explain how to volunteer, because a lot of you guys actually want to do it, but you kind of get afraid about where you should go, how you should get set up, and what you should do while you're there. And that might be keeping you guys from doing some really good work this holiday season. So let me teach you guys a couple things that you need to know before you volunteer. Now, the first thing you should know is that there's more ways to volunteer than just serving food. There are soup kitchens, there are great amounts here in LA, and whichever city that you're actually watching this in, there's probably a really great place where you can serve and feed and help others that way. Soup kitchens and food distributions, those are really great. And a lot of people really love doing those things, but there's more than one way to actually volunteer. So one way that you can volunteer, and you can do this basically right now and at any time, is you can donate. So a lot of us, we have a lot of junk in our trunk, no pun intended. Oh, there's no pun, is there? Is there a pun? We have a lot of junk in our house. Now we have so much stuff within our houses, within our storage, within our closets, and those things could potentially help someone in need, especially this holiday season. One great thing about donating goods is that there are seasonal times where they need more things than others. So during Thanksgiving, you can give food, canned foods, any kind of even perishable goods, which usually donation centers don't like getting, but they like getting it during those times. Now, of course, Christmas is coming up, and of course, all the other holidays. Especially in wintertime, they do like getting things like sweaters or any kind of warmers, anything to keep people warm. So this is a really good time for you to just clean out your closet and go ahead and donate what you're not using for someone else that could use it and could really save them this holiday season. Another thing that you can do in terms of volunteer is assembly. Now, all those care packages that you're usually giving out, things within the food distributions that you're usually giving out to families, those things had to be assembled, and that usually takes another day to actually assemble them. A lot of really great volunteer areas will actually ask more for people to come in and assemble their boxes, assemble the care packages, and put things together. And a lot of times they need those things more than they need the volunteers for the day. So that's a really great thing that you can reach out to see if there's any kind of organizations that you can go to help assemble certain packages, assemble certain things that they'll need, of course, within future events. Another thing that you can do is mentoring programs. These happen all throughout the year. So you can go to your local Boys and Girls Club. You can ask around within the school. You can go to your local Boys and Girls Club, or you can go to like a YMCA or YWCA. You can even go to your local church or your local school and just ask them if they need volunteers. A lot of times booster clubs might need more people for certain events at schools. A lot of times churches need it because they're doing distributions and they're doing outreaches as well too. So you can volunteer there. And a lot of times, especially with these organizations, they're looking for a lot of mentoring as well too. So mentoring like kids and after school programs, mentoring them to tutoring sessions, helping them with their school homework. A lot of times even the elderly. There's a lot of really great things that you can do throughout your neighborhood in terms of actually just being there and not necessarily giving out food, but giving out love, support, and help and compassion as well too. These are just a few things that you could do other than just hand out food, because I know a lot of times, especially when you're handing out food to people, or especially when you're working with people, some of you guys might be a little bit more introverted than extroverted. Some of you guys might not want a lot of person-to-person contact, which is fine. There's more ways that you can volunteer. So the next thing I'll talk about is making an appointment. A lot of times people will lose a volunteer opportunity just because a lot of these organizations, once they say that they want volunteers, everyone wants to just jump in and be a volunteer, whether it's individuals, whether it's large organizations, and usually those rosters become full, especially during the holiday season. So the first thing that you should do once you decide where you want to volunteer, go ahead and make an appointment with them. Because when you make an appointment, that means they're expecting you. That means you know that there's space there. That means you know you're going to be used. The worst thing that could happen is that you show up and there's no more space for you, so you have to go. So you feel like your time was wasted, and you might feel discouraged to try again and to volunteer again. So a couple of points if you're going to volunteer. Group volunteering is really popular. So what's really nice about group volunteering is that when you volunteer in a group, you're expanding a little bit more space within their roster. A lot of times organizations are looking for more people, because if they get more people, they know that they can get the job done faster. A lot of times, especially if you're doing things like Thanksgiving dinner, or if you're doing a large distribution of care packages, goods, gifts, they need more people to handle that load. So if you promise them more people, a lot of times these organizations will make room for you to be able to volunteer with them, because you're guaranteeing them more people. So the third thing I want to talk about is on the day. You've already decided where you want to be. You've made the appointment and now you're going to show up. Here's a couple of things that you need to remember on the day of volunteering. Number one, depending on the situation, you want to wear comfortable clothes. I understand you want to look good. You want to, it's okay. You can look good. It's okay. It's fine. However, you're going to be there to work. So if you're wearing something that you're afraid to get dirty, or you're wearing things that look good but are also uncomfortable, you're going to have a hard time. Honestly, you might even get discouraged. So what I really recommend, wear comfortable clothing. Wear clothes that you don't mind getting dirty. Wear clothes that you don't mind bustling up a bit. Wear comfortable shoes, because you are going to be walking a lot depending on what you're going to be doing for volunteers, especially if you're going to be working with kids, especially if you're going to be working with distributions and food. There's going to be a lot of walking, there's going to be a lot of carrying involved, and honestly, you want comfortable clothes for the process. So one special note about giving to the homeless, and I call this the if you give a mouse a cookie rule. There's this old book called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically it says, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want a glass of milk. Now, a lot of times when you're volunteering, you want to be super generous, especially when you see all the kids coming up or all the families and they have that oogly eyes and they really just say, oh, we just want a little bit more food. If you can give us just a little bit more. And we want to be generous. This is what happens. When you give them a little bit more, someone down the line that saw you do it, it's gonna want more too. And those oogly eyes and that generosity, it's all gonna go away. And they're just gonna be like, you gave them a lot, why can't you give me a lot? And that becomes a snowball effect, because everyone down the line will be like, well, she got some, why can't I get more? If she got a little bit more, if that family got a little bit more, why can't my family get a little bit more? And you get into this snowball effect where you're promising more than what the organization can give or is ready to give. A lot of times your volunteer coordinators and your staff coordinators, they will say that just give them this nominal amount, and that's fine. It's better to be fair than to be generous at this point, because if you're generous, which is great, and it's fine, if you give a mouse a cookie, he's gonna want a glass of milk. It becomes a snowball effect of now you have to be generous to everyone to be fair. So it's not being mean, it's just being fair, and remember that, especially when you're working with people. The last thing I want to talk about is volunteering as only the first step to something greater. Now, a lot of times when we volunteer, we'll get the itch. We'll want to volunteer once again, and that's great. One of the things that I really hope that you guys learn when you're volunteering is that it doesn't need to just stop in just one occurrence. A lot of times when we volunteer, we just volunteer in the holidays, which is really great, but there's a need all the time. And a lot of times when people volunteer, they usually want to give again. One thing that I really want you guys to learn is that it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about being able to give back. It's being able to be a blessing. And that's what I really hope that you learn in volunteering during this holiday season, or maybe beyond this holiday season, is that when you give the one time, I hope you're encouraged to give again and again and again. And to really know that that fulfillment that you want during the holiday season of giving back, it's more deep-seated. You really learn that lesson that it's not about you. It's not about your life. It's not about being able to get gifts or even giving out some of the expensive gifts. But it's being able to give out your heart and your life to other people so that they can be blessed, so that you can be blessed. I hope this spurns a lot more opportunities with your local organizations, schools, churches. I really hope that your one day of volunteering can spurn into something greater, something more special, something more loving, more compassionate, and something that's not about you. It's about the people that you give to. So maybe you volunteered before and you have a couple of points as well too. Go ahead and leave in the comments below. But until then, my name is Kuya Paul. Take care. God bless.